Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Lorelei and Space Deviant.
When the original Snow White premiered in 1937, Walt Disney was trying to remind people during the darkest hours of the Great Depression that there was still value in a softer kind of woman.
Though Disney's Folly was a huge financial success, sadly, the cultural waves he had perhaps hoped to make were less impactful. Oh, those little girls grew to become Rosie the Riveters, and come VJ Day refused to turn in their trousers, instead insisting you'd have to pry the pop guns out of their cold dead hands. Fast forward 3 generations, and this god-awful, muddled, commie reboot Snow White is the direct result.
But this death grip on economical power didn't fall out of the sky. We have to remember who Rosie the Riveter's great-grandmother was.
Oh, those long-forgotten widows of the Civil War were the first wave of heroically masculinized American women, the prototype for the strong, independent woman.
I ain't looking for money. I never cared for it, now it ain't worth nothing. I expect to board and eat at the same table. I ain't a servant, if you get my meaning.
A tragic character forced to destroy her body to just barely scrape by.
That post-Civil War era might be known as the missionary generation, but I believe a more appropriate moniker would be the shame orphans. Most of them had only memories of a father, or merely someone else's memories of him. And so the impoverished sons of a fatherless generation were drafted into the largest war in the history of mankind, while the daughters were lured into the factories. These men came home and married their Rosie the Riveter sweethearts.
And so, after 80 years of scarcity, they now lived in a land of milk and honey.
A generation raised to save every empty glass jar were awkwardly trying to acquaint themselves with luxury. Material luxury.
Just what I wanted.
You like it?
I love it.
The fever dream of the 50s housewife was the collective female consciousness trying to come to terms with the post-war economic boom.
The damage was already hardwired.
I feel that discipline mixed with love is such a good recipe.
For these women, working anything less than fingers to the bone brought waves of guilt and shame.
Laziness was the most unforgivable sin.
Look at this floor. You call that clean, do you?
In Snow White, there is only one female character. A woman should be maiden, mother, and crone, in that order.
It's not aging itself that made the queen evil, but her jealousy of youth.
Exactly. Snow White was fated to become the evil queen, and the evil queen was once Snow White.
That is the emotionally immature narcissist parent who terrorizes and competes with their own child.
Gaslighting and gouging rather than guarding and guiding.
Christina, do sit up properly. Isn't this fun?
Fairy tale Snow White may have gone to sleep when poisoned by the evil queen, but that is a metaphor. It's her trust that goes into a death sleep.
Her body lives on to become the new queen of evil, set to terrorize the next generation of Snow Whites.
In the original, Grumpy, the hardest one but most valiant of her dwarf protectors, he was the one that would have surely killed the evil queen had God himself not interceded. He rode his buck into the dark of night, chasing down that treacherous hag like Doc did Johnny Ringo.
I'm your huckleberry.
But revenge did not reawaken Snow White. Oh, here's where the womanists gnash their teeth. It's the much maligned kiss of a prince that is the key to Snow White's reawakening. A prince.
Prince?
I just found out. That's what this says. I'm an honest-to-God prince.
Not some actor, revolutionary, or thief. A noble man from a line of trustworthy men.
Because in that prince's kiss is a promise of protection.
That's when the sweetness within her can again come alive. That moment, when she sees his face, she immediately raises her arms and opens herself vulnerably to be swept up and embraced by him, her prince, because she knew all along that someday her prince would come. And he did. That's when she could finally wake up, because she was at last safe with her prince.
All the way back in 1937, Disney was trying to show women that they didn't have to be like their parents. That lost generation born to those Civil War shame orphans.
But those of us with childhoods filled with passive-aggressive vacuuming early Saturday mornings, or the terror of tiny hands trying to hold the light for a screaming shade tree mechanic, knows the greatest generation might have provided for the physical needs of their offspring, but little else. And so, it falls to us to reach for the mantle of personal responsibility.
Become better rather than bitter.
I'll get the door.
I ain't shooting this thing. I hate guns. My hair! He shot my hair! Son of a bitch!
Holy shit!
New Snow White was painful to get through.
It was up there on the list of some of the worst.
Punishing.
Yeah, especially for, kid movie or whatever. There's no redeeming value to it.
Oh, no. This wasn't a Spaceballs where adults and kids could watch together. This wasn't anything that was made. There's so many of those movies that are great.
Just them trying to drive. They were just trying to drive. Clearly.
Even you admitted.
Oh, yeah.
There was just straight.
It was so clearly propaganda. We're not worried about making a good story. We're about selling a good propaganda. That's pushing it with the kids, But nobody really went to see it for the most part. So that was didn't quite work out as they planned, I guess.
Wasn't very good propaganda.
They just got all the kids they could, though, to watch it. Like, the original was such a good story, even, rewatching it.
Because they're trying to ruin the original story. Because in the original story it was a love story.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to the original story. She never even really met the prince. He found her. But, they kind of changed it. It was still a good, not the 1930s. I'm talking about the original story from the original story it's based off. I think a lot of the changes he made was good. That's what I'm getting at, because the Disney changes, the original Disney changes, because the women originally, the way they were portrayed was, they were easily fooled. Basically, she made the same mistake multiple times over and over again.
I don't believe that the message of the original Snow White had anything to do with Snow White being clever. Her sweetness stopped the huntsman from killing her.
Yeah.
And her sweetness made the dwarfs protect her.
Because in German, that's the way a lot of the old German stories and Hansel and Gretel is the fool is, the fool's errand. That ends up being their downfall. They kind of changed it, which wasn't a bad change. She was it was like a sweet character and a motherly, and everybody looks like she's the ideal motherhood type.
I think it's the same story when it comes down to the girlish innocence being brutalized by an older female who's jealous. And in an environment where she should be safe, where she should be learning what it is to be a woman, where she should be learning how to control this new power she has over men, Even in the Disney one, she's like 14 or 16. Still, at that age, it's the pubescent tail. This girl has just grown into her body. She's starting to affect men in a way that she doesn't understand. She doesn't have control of. The older women around her should be guiding her, not jealous of her, not plotting against her. That's what causes her to go to sleep. And I think that sleep's a metaphor for actually becoming an adult and being emotionally mature. I think the queen, like I said, I think the queen was stuck in the same cycle that she was going to put Snow White in. Trauma and emotional immaturity. Family can be stuck in that cycle for generations. And that's what I think the story is. All the dwarves these are men in her life that will help her, that do love her. But they're not suitable. They're not suitable partners. They're not her prince.
I think it really bothered me is why, if they want to be culturally and if they want to be equitable, why would you put CGI people in place of real actors? If you're gonna push inclusion, why wouldn't you include people who took away jobs from?
The comedy you could have had.
No, we don't gnaw on our kitty. Leave Minnie Mr. Bigglesworth alone. Just love him, stroke him.
But they made nightmare sauce. CGI.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Nightmare sauce.
Why not just use real actors? Yeah. If you have the means.
You left money on the table as far as getting a clutch of funny little men together for an hour and a half.
Oh, my. What a terrible accident.
And where they tried to make it funny, it just wasn't.
It's forced because those people, they're not funny. They don't know how to laugh at anything. All they know how is to get offended when other people make jokes.
Anytime there was anything that they could have made funny, said they were like, "Oh, sorry." Like one of they had, what was it, Dopey?
Dopey immediately loved her. Remember, he was the first that walked over to Snow White bravely when she was just a weird monster creature in the ruffles. So even though Dopey was slow, Dopey was no wussy pants, and he loved her immediately. So, I mean, Dopey was he had his sweetness. That was his superpower, But Grumpy was the one, she was making a pie when she got poisoned. She was winning him over. Oh, because God forbid you encourage women to be sweet and charming rather than bullies and belligerent.
Yeah, I mean, that's supposed to be the queen's role. But instead, they made it where she is equally as much of a piece of shit as the queen is. If you're giving her agency, but you're making her into an equally evil queen.
Same. Just the queen's based and believes in defense of the realm. She's just spending more on defense.
She understands economics, but otherwise they're the same people. You're making me vote for evil here because you know better.
Evil doesn't even truly get defeated. She defeats herself.
Yeah, herself with being jealous, essentially.
She whacks the mirror with a hand with her mace. I still believe if the Lord had not interceded to kill the queen himself with that bolt of lightning, Grumpy and the rest of her dwarf crew would have most assuredly driven her off that cliff. It would have been ugly, and they would have had that sin on their soul, and that would have been hard. It's the principle that they would have, but again, God saved them from having to deal with the guilt. So he did it himself. The old lightning strike from above, the Lord will strike you down for being evil. But again, more important, that didn't wake her up. Oh, feminists hate that. They don't want to think about the true implications of that.
You can't expect men and women to be the same because though they're both human, they're not of the same. The specially deviation is.
We have the same parents, come from the same womb, and we are physically profoundly different. That's men and women. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is not acknowledging it.
See, I like that old quote from The Crow that mother is the name of God on all the children's lips.
Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children.
Men physically protected the household. Women spiritually do. Women were the gatekeepers. They kept the churches alive. I mean that in the way of both religious, spiritual, cultural, community, all levels. In all cultures, women are the interconnected one.
Whereas guys, it's like analytical, and there's, certain aspects visually sometimes. You know what I mean? There's like different, they have their strengths and their weaknesses, and that's always, it's not to say that's 100% of every single person, but you have to, you can't try to make everybody cookie cutter. You can't make guys and girls the same, because they're not.
We're not interchangeable sexless cogs.
What, for both men and women, because now everything gets contributed. Oh, it was this company did it. There's no, even if the individual creates it, now it's the company, or there is no individualism anymore.
Well, I was going to even go more for the fact that there's no men's spaces. Men have nowhere they can be safe. They have nowhere they can be themselves. They have nowhere they can have camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly being censored. And which is probably why we're getting so much, in a sense, resentment. There's no male friendships, because we don't give them any space to be friends and to have their spaces. So now we're getting our spaces invaded by men. And in so many ways, it's like, well, rightfully so. But there needs to be women's spaces. And in that same right, there needs to be men's only spaces as well. Because the sexes are different. And they deserve their own clubs, their own locker rooms, their own tournaments. We are so different. And frankly, I want you to get all your gross stuff out of the way when all your men are amongst doing your man stuff. So when you come out into civilized behavior, you act extra right around the ladies. And maybe that's just the idealization of classic Victorian culture, when you had that kind of grand dichotomy of, you don't act that way. We go to the brandy room and we smoke when we're going to talk about politics and man stuff.
There's always pluses and minuses. You had some things that were great, and then women also didn't really get educations, and that wasn't such a good thing. So you have the increase of, now it's more women get educated than men. But I would say there's definitely differences in mental structures. There's no doubt.
They can look at a scan of a brain and tell you if it's a guy or a girl.
98% with some of their new methodologies overnight.
Even if our brains are exact same size, there's that section of your brain that's going to be significantly bigger than mine. I think it's where you store maps.
Yeah, so it's a visual stuff. There's certain.
I can't find my way out of a wet paper bag with both hands.
Well, you had to go hunting, and you had to go to that certain place way over here. So you had to be able to remember that and the entire path there, and there's a lot of visual
follow
mapping.
The sun. And I just had to remember there's the bush by the tree near the water. I didn't go more than 2 miles from home, probably.
Hundreds of thousands of years.
Plus, I was going with the whole band. So my whole structure. But I can read a room. It all goes back to that cave programming.
Yeah.
And to pretend that we don't have a million years of cave programming is utterly ridiculous. I watched I think it was the Critical Drinker. It was either him or Dispadu. They did one on Netflix, a review, and it was Viola Davis' new movie where she's fighting the guy that plays Homelander. And he's
like 6 something, right?
Okay, even if he's 5'11".
Yeah, but he was still
fit. I mean, he's a fit man. But even if he wasn't a fit man, which he is, even if he wasn't, he's still a 5'11" man with some amount of muscle, and they have her physically overpowering him, not sneaking up behind him and stabbing him in a lung or poisoning him or doing anything what a woman might actually be able to do to over man
sexually entrap and then poison him and all that stuff. There's a million ways they could have done it, and it would be believable. The expectation, or the overpowering this guy who's this rip frickin' 6 foot tall nearly dude.
They're trying to convince women who didn't grow up till 3rd grade being really good at arm wrestling till about 3rd grade, when I went from being one of the top 3 in the class to where pie-faced kids named Patrick who are 30 pounds lighter than me can beat me, and he's not cheating. Do you know how hard that was for my little brain to wrap itself around? Like, he's not cheating. What is going on here? Am I getting weak? No. Patrick is getting testosterone. Your little body is not getting huge doses of that, and it changes the game. All of this stuff happened at 3rd and 4th grade for me. So they're convincing these normal broads that they could theoretically find a man. I swear to God, I think that's what it is, because I've talked to some women who really do genuinely believe that if they wanted to, they could beat a man in the fight. I just simply have to explain to them that I'm 6'2", a brick shit house of a woman, and an average 5'7" dude could absolutely fill me in less than 30 seconds unless I got lucky.
I mean, I'm sure we could find the exception. Black belt in this martial arts where it's like you're using your advantage of your big ass hips and legs, where the strength, you really do have a lot of strength. You can to throw people.
One exception proving the rule. Secondly, any one of those broads matched with a guy even on the same physical level as them. Let's say a 5'7". Who's the one I like? Oh, what's her name? Gina.
Yeah.
Okay. Chrono.
Mm-hmm.
She's 5'7". Let's find a dude. We'll find a dude that's 5'5" that wrestles. I assure you, he could.
I got a kick out of the Sabrina Williams, like in her interview where she talked about it. She's like, I wouldn't even score a point on.
For me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because it's true. It's true.
I wouldn't score a point. Damn. She's like, no.
She's a real athlete.
Yeah. So I have no delusion.
I could not have loved her more for that realism.
Yeah.
That's the thing. An average body male athlete can beat the very best female athlete in a sport because we are diametrical.
Go back to that 90s. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Oh, that's 50s. That's a 50s musical.
Does it go back that?
Yes.
I remember they were pushing it hard in the 90s.
That was playing to our grandmother's generation. That Rosie the Riveter.
Been a push for a while.
Annie Oakley was the musical with Annie Oakley in them.
They used it. Was it Adidas commercial? It was Adidas. One of those few commercials. That's what they used it in. I think it was Adidas. Yeah, they would always have the sports people, and they would have them.
You and I can fight 99 times out of 100, and unless I sneak up on you with a shovel, that one time out of 100, you're still winning the 100th times. Is it because I wouldn't try hard enough? Is it because I don't want it? No.
They got a girl boss it and have
it's aggravating.
Have Snow White be the OP girl boss, whereas instead of being the strengths that women have, instead of portraying those.
Because female strengths, true femininity.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We've made that weakness.
Brought all the, like in the original, it brings the dwarves together.
Brings out the best in them.
Brings out the best in them. And
women bring out the best in men. And they don't do it because, here, you do this because I'm not going to live in this disgusting house. You need to do better. No. Just her being her sweet, feminine self. What's like with the Pygmalion video we did? All of those women, they didn't browbeat the men, but they brought out the best in them.
You make me want to be a better man.
Brought out the best in them.
They made them want to be better and want to be more. That's the Beauty and the Beast dynamic that has existed for all of creation. That's why civilization exists. Civilization exists because men made it for women. They wanted a safe place for women to be. And women have forgotten that. They've forgotten how short the fall is from civilization. Do you not see other cultures and how they live? Do you not realize you lose all the fights? You become property. If this shakes down and goes ugly, you either die. That's the Old West. The Stone Age cavemen could carry you off less than 150 years ago. They forget. civilization's always on the precipice of collapse. I don't know. I don't want to end it on a super dark note, but
How could it have been better? How could they have made this story better?
I wonder, how could Disney have made our grandmother get back in the kitchen where she belonged?
America, built to last.
Yeah, that's right.
No, that's right. They'll be flying that flag all night.
Red, white, and blue.
Thank you for joining us today. We really do appreciate your time. I'm Lorelei, and this is
Space Deviant.
And together we are Southern Fried Cinema Siblings. And remember, most important story is the story you tell yourself, so
make it a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. You're still here, are you? Well, why don't you make yourself useful? Click the share button. Click the subscribe button. May as well go ahead and click for the next episode, too.